is up, YouTube? This is your host, Rainy B, here to spill that homicidal tea. And I would love to take time to mention a wonderful true crimer here on YouTube, Red Devil Jeremiah, Gods of the Good and Evil. Now tell me that ain't a screen name, okay? Well, the comment that Jeremiah left is what helped me figure out a way to become more active on here. I really hate how much I wait between videos.
Daddy, chill.
I've talked about it before. Now that I got a new job and working on videos at work while I'm supposed to be working just really isn't possible anymore. And now that I swim every day at 5:30 in the morning, it means that I go to bed hella early, like an old lady. But when is there time to work on videos? Yeah, well, if I get up just 30 minutes earlier, if I'm getting up at 5:30 anyway, what's 5? Big deal. I can go to the pool a little bit earlier and then have time after that, about 30 minutes to work on videos.
Oh, yes.
And I can just edit here and there, you know, bits and pieces, and bada bing, I'm back in business. Well, anyone who on this channel knows that given the chance, I will blab all day long about myself, my favorite subject.
Shut the fuck up, no one cares.
But no, this again is not about me, so let's get into it. The solved homicide case of Doreen Ray Erbert. In 1952, Doreen Ray Hitchens was born in Santa Clara, California. She was raised in an awesome family. Just grew up well-adjusted, very confident, extremely successful. She was a great catch, and when she started thinking about marriage, you know, she was a viable candidate. While working as a physical therapist, she met a man by the name of Mike Dennis that had worked around the corner from her office, and it seemed like a great match. At first, Michael Dennis worked at the Lockheed facility near Doreen's place of employment. Now, Mike had a stutter that made him very shy and reserved when he talked to people, so he was more of an introvert. So what sucks is that it was from hearing loss. And now, like current day, I bet they could totally fix that. And a speech pathologist could have worked with him to get rid of that affliction that caused him so much social embarrassment. It just sucks. But Mike was known to have been depressed about how he came across to people. He really didn't get out that much. So that sort of social mindset doesn't really open a lot of opportunities to find a partner. He said to anyone that would listen that, or even pretend to listen, that she was the one, and he wanted to take their relationship to the next level, full steam ahead. And if you were thinking that seemed a little bit fast, it's because you're right. It was just a few months after meeting that they got married. Yikes. Not too soon after that, Doreen and Mike welcomed a baby boy named Paul. But, you know, being newlyweds isn't always smooth sailing, and adding a new baby and the stress of all these new changes to their lives, it was a recipe for disaster with all the tension and animosity building day by day. It just didn't work, and they called time on their marriage in 1977. Doreen, she had primary custody of Paul, but Mike would have him on the weekends. Seemingly amicable as divorces can be, but they tried at least to stay civil. That was until Doreen seemed to move on with much more ease than Michael did, and started dating pretty much right after they decided to part ways. This only angered Michael even more than he already naturally was, and he grew to be increasingly resentful and almost enjoyed being bitter. He became more and more difficult for Doreen to deal with, and that didn't stop Doreen from finding happiness that she knew that she deserved. She met a man by the name of Charles Erbert. He ran a carpet business in town. They started dating and went on to marry in 1979. Not too long after, they had a daughter named Deanna, and the family was growing and flourishing, and baby Deanna and her big half-brother Paul, it was great. Times were good, and the family had a great time together. They had this fantastic backyard. The Erberts, they loved the summers by the pool. They had hot dogs on the grill, and it was a family atmosphere that the entire neighborhood, kids and adults, they all loved. Anyway, the toddler turned to young man Paul, who was about 4 years old at the time, wandered into the backyard in the bitter February winter of 1980. Somehow, Paul was able to climb over the safety fence that was around the pool, and he dove in the water. Doreen noticed that Paul quit making noises in the next room and went to investigate what he had gotten into. He was a lively and curious little child, so she was expecting to find him outside making friends with roly-polies or something, but what she found was far worse. It was Paul was found lifeless in the pool. And despite emergency responders trying everything they could, Paul sadly passed away 3 days later at the hospital after removing life support. Now, as you can imagine, everyone was devastated. But Mike took it extremely hard, and he pointed the finger at Doreen, saying she done it on purpose. And as we said earlier, Mike had a predisposition to depression, and all these traumas caused him to spiral deeper and deeper in despair. And without these coping skills to navigate these events, his depression got the best of him. He lost his job at Lockheed. Depression morphed into rage, red-hot rage for Doreen and Charles. And out of work, Mike had nothing to do but manifest hatred and revenge plots. The anger and vitriol festered for years. And in 1982, Mike Dennis sued Charles and Doreen Erbert for the wrongful death of little Paul Dennis. In March, when they went to court, the judge, he ruled in favor of Charles and Doreen Erbert, citing it was a tragic accident with no proof of malicious or willful intent. The daggers that Mike felt were being lobbed at him by Doreen were just too much to bear. First, the crumbling marriage that ended in divorce, her fault. Mike losing his job at Lockheed, her fault. Now his son having been murdered, which is what he said. That was actually proven not to be true at the civil trial. It was no one's fault. But this didn't soothe Mike's pain, and he continued to burn with carnal, vociferous fury and despise Doreen and Charles in ways that even he never imagined he could loathe someone. Hopefully, though, with time, his anger and grief, disguised as anger, would dissipate, and he could move on, like Doreen had, and attain some sort of closure and happiness after this tragedy. Moving forward to 1984, the air was getting chilly and pumpkins were everywhere, and it was, you guessed it, Halloween. Doreen, who was 8 months pregnant with her husband Charles's first son, waddled sweet little Deanna around for some trick-or-treating. Now, while they were taking a break at the house, Charles said that he needed to pop out and get some more candy since they were running low. Now, he had been gone maybe 15 minutes. Now, while Charles was out, some ghost or goblin knocked at the door about 9 o'clock. When Doreen opened the door, she was greeted with a frightful sight. It was a person wearing a semi-realistic wolf mask and wielding a machete. It was said that the man behind the mask was very matter-of-factly and almost scripted, like a villain in a movie would say it, like one simple sentence: "I'm gonna kill you." Well, I mean, it was friggin' Halloween. You know, I mean, who says they're gonna do that to someone they plan on actually victimizing before they do it? I mean, other than stupid characters acting in movies with poor writing team. Okay, well, hold on, let me continue this dialogue to tell you I'm about to kill you, and this is how I'm gonna do it, and da-da-da. That just doesn't happen in real life. So Doreen calmly told her little daughter, Deanna, said, "Ooh, you better go inside and hide under the couch." Deanna took off thinking it was a joke or a prank, but Doreen looked at this man and asked him what the hell he wanted and why he would say something like that in front of her young child. Now, I don't know that she said that, but I can just imagine she did. I mean, this is YouTube, not 60 Minutes. I ain't a journalist, and if I want to imagine Doreen being some boss bitch that ain't afraid of some stupid kid trying to scare her and her daughter, then that's what I'm going to imagine. So now back to the facts. And the facts are much less rosy than some stupid kid pulling a practical joke at her doorstep. This is a fucking monster. A vicious and vile beast that proceeded to not only murder Doreen, but cruelly kill, like, eviscerate her unborn child as well. When Charles got home, just mere moments later, he arrived at a savagely devastating scene. Doreen was lying close to the front door with her unborn son found separated from her in the living room. The machete that was used in the killing had cut off Doreen's left hand, and it left her with too many wounds to count. They were all over her body, and her unborn child's fetus was removed and dissected, is the only way I can really say that with respect. The baby boy's remains were scattered all over. I really feel like I'm gonna throw up. All over the entryway. Her husband, Charles, actually slipped and fell in the blood because there was so much of it. Now, Charles had heard Deanna whimpering, fearing for the worst. He flew across that room and found her, and she was still hiding in the living room just as her mother told her to. Oh my God. hysterical and covered in blood. Charles managed to somehow call the police. And even though he was clearly distraught, when police arrived, it was business as usual. All family members, especially husbands, initially they're considered the suspect. So first responders did everything they could to try and save Doreen. Believe it or not, she had a pulse rate. I mean, I don't know how she had a heartbeat, but she did. But it wasn't looking good. The detectives got their first lead pretty quickly, and they discovered a wolf mask beside the entrance door. Not only that, the detectives actually found a blood trail, and they tracked it down the street. Now, blood samples were taken from the house and from that blood trail by the police for processing. Once police were made aware of the contentious relationship between Charles, Doreen, and her ex-husband, Mike, police immediately left to go speak to Mike Dennis. Good luck. In the meantime, Doreen passed away en route to the hospital. While detectives were en route to Mike's residence, they got to his front door. They knocked, but no one answered. The police listened for sounds of someone inside, and they could hear water running. They noticed many lights also were on. The police continued to do their police knock, and finally, Mike answered the door in a robe. The first thing that they noticed was that Mike had a bandage on his hand, and when they asked him about it, Mike said, "I was playing with a knife." Who plays with knives? I mean, but they also discovered blood on some of his clothing. It was also on fixtures and appliances in and around his house, and even in his car. When the police shined a flashlight in the car, blood was clearly visible on the gear shift and steering wheel. Okay, Mike was taken in custody for a murder. At Mike's house, the detectives continued to do a second and more thorough search, and they discovered a hardware shop receipt and a label for an 18-inch machete. What they also found in the garage, oh my God, they discovered 2 homemade coffins, as well as 2 large zipper bags. You know, the kind they use as body bags. Turns out that had Charles been home when Mike came to the house, he probably would have been a victim as well. But even with all of this evidence, when 48 hours passed, Mike was let go. The evidence just wasn't convincing enough. It isn't a crime to have homemade coffin or even body bags, especially around Halloween. And a defense lawyer could smash right through that. So they were going to have to wait for the lab to come back with some actual proof tying this guy to this horrific act. Tick tock, tick tock. And that time came soon enough. Just a few days later, on November 5th, 1984, Mike was arrested and brought in on murder charges. Now, at this time, DNA and all of its stuff was still in infancy, but blood typing was as good as it got. And that was good enough. They had the matches all over the place, and that was not all. This is what really sealed the deal. This picture. Detectives were later able to trace the wolf mask found at the Erbert's home to one that someone wore to a Halloween party the previous year. Detective Brute Caro said that he had interviewed people believed that to be at that same party that this mask was seen at. And the girl says, "Oh yeah, last year we went to that party. That was a guy named Mike. He was dressed up as, guess what? You got it, the big bad wolf." Crossing his fingers, Detective Caro asked if anyone took pictures, and she said, "Oh yeah, that guy, the one who was wearing the mask, he was having people take pictures of him and everything." Well, now it never says anywhere where exactly the pictures were found, but I'm assuming it was somewhere on Mike's property, but that's just my assumption. But yeah, I mean, this guy is not really, there's not much up here.
That's really dumb.
Mikey went on trial in July of 1988. He ultimately pleaded guilty to first-degree murder for the death of Doreen and to second-degree murder. I don't know why. It's pretty deliberate, and it was planned out. But anyway, you know what? I ain't a lawyer, so in this ain't about me. So let's just read the facts. He pleaded to first-degree murder for the death of Doreen and second-degree murder for the death of her baby boy. And his punishment? Oh yeah. Oh, what is that? Is that gas? Yeah, buddy. The gas chamber. Boom. In September of 1999, Mike Dennis was sentenced to die in the gas chamber, but like so many of California's death penalty convictions, Michael is actually currently wasting taxpayer money on death row at San Quentin State University. Not university. Of all places.
God, she's so stupid.
San Quentin State Prison. Don't you wish you were at university, but you're too dumb for that anyway. Presumably stretching out his time with anything that he can and his defense crap team can come up with. Today, Charles and Deanna Erbert, actually Deanna Erbert Scott, so she's gotten married since then, say that they found their own peace of mind. They've forgiven Mike. This is a quote. I want him to know that we survived. And we're making it. He hasn't conquered us. That's the magical statement that these incredible people made. I mean, what amazing people. But if they ever need to channel that vitriol and hatred, you can use me, boo, because I hate that motherfucker and I hold plenty of ill will toward him for both of you. Anyway, well, that is it for this case. Good Lord, I've never heard of this one. Now, it's crazy how so many of these cases I keep coming across that I've never heard of. Because I'm nuts. I'm obsessed about true crime. I mean, obsessed. That's all I do in my spare time. So,
Did somebody order a psycho?
and it's weird, but this was violent. It's crazy how violent this one was. Like, how can you be mad at a friggin' fetus? I mean, I get you wanted revenge for your son. Yes, it's sad. But damn, dude, like, what the hell? I mean, there are psychos everywhere, and you never know what mask they're hiding under. So until next time, which will be soon, thanks to my friend Jeremiah, try not to murder anyone. And I mean, I don't want to do a segment on you, so chill. And I don't want to put that same guy, but I'm going to.
So just chill out. You know, drink a 7-Up, eat a moon pie, quit murdering people.
Exactly. I love that guy. I don't know if I'm going to have to start paying him royalties, but I wouldn't care because I like him. So anyway, that's enough of me. Shut up. Bye.
Chill.
What the hell is even that?